Kasey, it's great to have a chance to speak with you. This is our first time speaking. So, right off the top, man, how does it feel to have this great short film at the Toronto International Film Festival, one of the biggest festivals in the world?
It's when you say it like that, it adds to the excitement and the overwhelming feeling I have. I've had the last month to process everything, and it's been a trip, definitely been a trip. And being Canadian, it's also a plus to have this be a Canadian festival. So um, yeah, I'm just very excited. The festival starts on Thursday, so I fly out tomorrow for everything.
Fantastic. Now, I'm just curious, is this your first film in the film festival?
This is my first this is my first in-person festival. I've submitted this is my second film, so I've submitted my first film to online festivals,
Yeah.
but it doesn't hit the same way as an in-person festival for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What part of Canada are you living?
I'm on the West Coast. I'm in Vancouver.
Oh, okay. How's the weather? Just curious, because right now, as we speak, it's blazing, stuffy, sweaty hot here in Toronto.
Yeah, it's not hot anymore here, so I don't know what to expect. I feel like it's more humid in Toronto, right?
It's
Yeah.
as I'm talking to you, I've got a fan next to me going because the second I leave, it's like whoosh. So be careful
Is
when
it
you
is it
come by.
is it also hot in the studio?
No, it's not so much as hot. It's just sort of this is my chance to bring it down, bring it
Yeah,
down, bring
yeah,
it
yeah.
down, kind of thing.
Nice.
So,
Well,
but
I guess
no, man. So glad that you're going to be making it down to Toronto. I'm just curious too. This film that we're going to talk, it's part of the shortcuts.
it's part of the shortcuts program. So I believe they've broken it down into 6 or 7 different
Yes.
programs.
Yeah.
And so there'll be a handful of shorts playing per program, and mine is, the Shortcuts 2 program.
Fantastic. Now people are
Yeah.
going, okay, they've been sort of muddling around. Let's get right to the meat and potatoes, man. What is your film called and what is it about, please?
Um, it's called Bloom, and it's about, it's I'm I'm categorizing it as a psychodrama. So it's about a woman who's going through a breakup, and in the midst of the breakup, she buys a house plant, and sort of as she goes through the phases of coming to terms with her life at that time, the plant is sort of mimicking her moods and her phases, and so there is this relationship with her and this piece of nature.
Now, it's interesting you say that. And here's the reason why I'm going to say this.
Mm,
The plant that we're talking about is a bonsai.
correct.
I love bonsais. One of my very first really intense relationships with someone that I lived
Mm,
with, I had a bonsai and I love bonsais.
mm,
And when the relationship was ending, she basically killed my bonsai. So watching this, my feeling was I was looking at that bonsai as if the person that we see as the actress, this is the relation I was looking at as was the bonsai representing the person that she broke that ended up leaving the relationship,
mm,
and this is how she treated her, because you almost see, and I don't want to give too much away, it was
mm.
almost like I see abuse towards the bonsai. My first thought was my past relationship, but two, could this be how she treated this person? That's why the person's gone.
I mean, it's up for interpretation, and it's quite bizarre that you had a bonsai in one of your first major relationships. As a very interesting relationship. You must have felt like what when you watched the film, were you sort of like, this is did it bring you back at all, or did it?
Oh, absolutely. I was,
Yeah,
it's that bonsai to me was like having a dog or a cat. Like, I love that bonsai.
yeah,
Love that
yeah.
bonsai. And the fact that she actually went out of her way to, kill the bonsai, I was furious. So watching
Yeah.
this, it
Mm,
was really, it took me back because to me, a bonsai, I mean, people can look at plants anyway. To me, a bonsai is very spiritual. That's why I love
Right.
bonsais. I even had the
The
little
little guys.
Asian old
Yeah.
man sitting by the tree. It's, anybody who knows anything about bonsais will understand why you would have that.
Yeah.
But to see that, that's immediately why I thought to myself, this must be how she treated her former partner.
Yeah. The sort of the plant sort of acts as this. You could see it as a reflection of Jodie, is the character in the film, or you could see it as a representation of the relationship and how that has degraded. But it's sort of left up to interpretation, and I won't get too much into it because it's a very short film, and I could probably give too much away in terms of plot. But yeah, it's sort of the idea. Obviously, it came sort of around the time of COVID, which was like this very isolating time for a lot of us, where we brought our lives inside for a period of time, and so it was sort of this representation of bringing nature in, having that nature has always sort of been this silent observer. This
Mhm.
It's all around us and it's watching us. So this idea that nature is inside, it's with us, it's watching us, uh, and also the idea of loss that we've had during COVID. So like the breakup was a symbolic of that as well.
Here's the other thing, and I don't want to give too much away, but I have to talk about one particular scene that really stood out for me.
Mm,
As I said, I felt like the bonsai was being abused, if I can use that term for this, because this was my interpretation.
hmm
She is drinking water at the sink several times. And I'm thinking to myself, because of what I went through, why are you not giving that bonsai water? Why are you drinking all that water anytime you can? And this bonsai can't go over there and have its own water. Why aren't you taking care of that? I found that to be the most powerful part of this film.
Wow, that's one of my favorite scenes actually. It's really cool hearing you talk about this, Rudy, because I'm sure everybody who watches it's going to have a different, take on what the story means. But yeah, that's I love that take. I feel like
Because she
I
had
don't
her
want to
back
say it.
turned. She had
Yeah,
her back turned to the bonsai, and she's just constantly drinking.
yeah,
Meanwhile, it's just sitting there losing its leaves.
hmm yeah. She's taking all the water.
Okay, we'll leave it to that. We'll leave it to
Okay,
that.
we'll leave it to
The
that.
other
We'll leave
thing
it
that
to
the other thing that I really enjoyed, which I thought was brilliant, I've never seen anybody really do this before,
Mhm.
is we've all gone through breakups, but nobody ever sees how we act when we're by ourselves. It's always with when I watch movies, it's always with, okay, you got a friend who comes over and we sit and we talk, or
Mhm.
maybe we throw something and against the wall or whatever. But we actually see how she acts throughout this whole time of the breakup. I thought was very interesting, because I thought to myself, I'll bet you a lot of people act exactly the way she did during that. But if somebody saw it, you'd be totally embarrassed by your actions.
For sure. Yeah, majority of the film, I mean, it's Jodie by herself, and I wanted to give her situations in which not much was happening because I wanted us to feel. First of all, she did an amazing job, and she dug really deep into that character.
Very
Um,
much.
and the stuff that she brought to the table, even in the midst of like minimal action, is I couldn't have wrote that. Like that's stuff that she found within herself and pulled, I'm sure, from experiences and uh, feelings. So it, I just wanted people to watch somebody break down and not, go to the store and eat food and
Yeah.
stuff that might, hinder us watching just somebody, just the lone figure experiencing this. So That was the reason for like not much happening, and just showing that emotion seep out. And I think it. I mean, yeah, Jodie. I can't thank her enough for the performance that she gave, and to be there watching it was quite impactful and emotional.
Her only companion to the outside world was her phone. And she, if she wanted to at any time, she could have connected with that. But
Mm.
what it was almost like, well, if I'm going to reject this and if I'm going to be rejected, I'm rejecting the phone, I'm rejecting this. A lot of rejections from anything that tried to, in a lot of ways, help her in her comfort.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. The phone. Um, I mean, there were parts in the film that I, uh, I guess I can speak on this now. I chose to cut out, and there was a moment where you hear a knock at the door, and there's a piece of paper slides under as if it were a letter. And originally, that was written as like we see the person on the other side, but it felt better to keep her enclosed, and it felt better to
Yeah.
keep her as the
Yeah.
sole figure. So, um, and the distractions of the phone, I think that was just a comment on today, our current climate of digital, chaos of always looking at our phone and social media. So just staying away from the phone was a big thing for me. And just having a moment alone with Jody throughout the whole thing. It's like that, keeping it stripped down and simple was the main goal.
Where did this brilliant idea come from?
Yeah, like I said, it was sort of birthed out of COVID. It was birthed out of the feeling of isolation and um, feeling like we had lost uh, our sense of connection with socializing and even just nature. So that's kind of where it all came from, and then the sort of the I had always wanted to do something that was a bit on the, not, I wouldn't say horror, but like suspense realm. So I wanted to, I mean, if you think about being inside for a year, it's pretty like
Yeah.
suspenseful and eerie. So I wanted it to reflect that, even though it doesn't really take place over the course of a year, but I wanted it to feel that way.
And just curious, of all the plants to use, I mean, most people would have used a rose or roses or something like that. Why the bonsai? Like I said, for me, having one, and I always said I'm going to get another one, but I could never find the right one. Um, I always felt a bonsai is very spiritual. Why did you choose a bonsai?
So I worked closely with a plant. This is a lack of a better term, but sort of a plant designer, a plant artist, and she suggested, it was mainly out of a practicality thing and like logistics with building. You notice at the end of the film, I won't give too much away, but the plant changes.
Yeah.
Um, and to build something like that, we needed a plant with a strong base, and bonsais generally have that strong trunk. So we chose it for that reason. But I like the spiritual connotation as well, and I hadn't really thought about that until now. So that's a good take.
What do you hope that people are going to take from this film?
Um, Honestly, I hope you're a prime example of somebody. I want people to go into it, and if it brings up past experiences or something relevant in their lives and connects with them in a certain way, I'd love for that to happen. I just, yeah, I want people to know that, again, it's hard to talk about the end of the film, but the film
Yeah,
sort of ends.
let's not talk about the end of it. I mean,
Okay, okay, okay,
yeah, I don't want to talk
okay,
about the end of it because it's
okay,
so
okay.
important for people to reach there to go through
Yeah,
this experience. So let's not say
okay,
a word about the end. We've given them enough to look at this.
perfect,
And I got to
perfect,
say,
perfect.
man, Brilliant film. Congratulations on having this in the Toronto International Film Festival. I hope you have a great time when you're here in Toronto. Sorry about the muggy heat, but hopefully it'll be lifted before you leave. But again, man, congrats. Great, great film.
Thank you so much, Rudy. I appreciate it.